Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes! Amazing!
We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 163 and we're your host Jake.
And Matt.
Here to take you through all the action of Matchday 27 in your favorite league.
But before we do that, we're super excited to announce our first ever media partnership, and this one is with Benevo Bid. They're running exclusive auctions where Serie A and football fans can bid for autographed items from top players, as you're seeing right over here next to me. And it also includes match-issued kits. Right now, you can find some of the kits that Jake is showing off on their website. The link is in the description in our bio. And the best part is that most of the proceeds go to Potino Cares, which is a local charity. So you're not only scoring elite merch, but you're also supporting a great cause. Hit the link in our description to get your bids in, and good luck.
These look amazing. As you can see, we've got the likes of Grosso, Vieri, Donnarumma. Absolutely
Inzaghi,
incredible.
Totti. There are also some players outside of Serie A that you might want to have a look at as well. And also on the website, but we don't have it on us right now. There's also a Retegui one that is match issue, which is ridiculous. But this Totti one is my
It's absolutely amazing.
favorite. Fuck knows what year it's from, but it looks amazing, man.
It really does.
Yeah. Place your bids in before they make a name for themselves. Maybe you'll get them at an amazing price.
You can score them at a reasonable price, you know.
Exactly.
It's still early days, early access, guys.
Yeah.
Benevo Bid.
Of course. Well, and we want to obviously extend our thank you to the people that make Benevo Bid happen. And do go check them out and show some love and support. Let's get into the episode, bro. Shall we start off from our goal of the week, which is, I think, the easiest one we've had in a while, no?
It's the easiest one because Suslov's goal was ruled out against Juve. That was an absolute cracker. However, I think it might have still gone to DiMarco because that free kick was absolutely sensational.
I'm telling you, man, the way he curled that ball, it gives me shades of that Messi free kick against, who was it in the Champions, against Liverpool, when they beat them 3-0 and then Liverpool came back from behind and won 4-0 or some shit.
It's always a good thing not to be compared to him.
Absolutely. No, but the way he curled that ball, DiMarco, and the reason the goal is also so good, apart from the execution of it, is also because that was the only attempt Inter pretty much had all game. But when you have a specialist like him standing over the ball in corners, free kicks, then you're in good hands. You don't need to create so much when you've got a set piece specialist.
It had been a while since Inter scored a free kick. Maybe
because Çalhanoğlu has been taking them.
So I think the direct free kicks need to be handed to DiMarco perhaps from now on. But this is another game where set pieces bailed Inter out.
Yep.
Just goes to show, right? It's always a solid game plan to have some set piece specialists and some routines up your sleeve. That's always
for sure.
That's always a positive.
Every top team should have one. Every top team should have a set piece specialist. If you guys are new here, make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, so on and so forth. We do weekly episodes covering each match day in Serie A and have weekly bonus tactical analysis episodes, Tactics Imperium by John Leah. We also have a blog on our website if you prefer visual aid to your tactics.
Absolutely love what John has been bringing to this podcast. Some nice early access podcasts, basically, guys, where you can get some analysis or rundown of your favorite game of the week, to be honest, because he covers some of the best games of the week.
Yeah.
Like Napoli Inter, we had it up immediately after the game, pretty
Seconds after the game.
and the blogs are excellent as well on our website. They're fun to read through.
John is great. The episodes are great. What I like to refer to them as when I'm speaking to Jake, it's a Serie A cigarette, because it's not quite listening to us blab on for 2 hours and 5 minutes, but it's 6 minutes of a bit more in-depth tactics, where he focuses less on obviously his opinions, and more on the actual facts in front of us and the tactical analysis, which, to be honest, he says a lot of things that I wouldn't have even noticed during the game, and he really opens my eyes about it.
He's an analyst.
Yeah.
It's his job, like.
My favorite, I have to say, my favorite is still the written versions, because the visual aids that he does over there with the circles on the players and where the ball is being played and the shape of the defense, and then you get to notice it in the next game and the game after that. It's brilliant. So shout out to John. And if you guys really love us, become a patron. We're on Patreon. It's $3.99 a month, and you can also win a free kit if you win our fantasy league. And if we can't deliver it to wherever you are, we'll send you the kit. We'll Revolut you the money. I just noticed we're competing with our new media partners. That would have been a good one. They donate the kit.
Here we're donating to our patrons. That's our charity.
We're their charity, pretty
so
much.
The fantasy league has been dominated by Joey D.
Yeah,
he's got
Joey Big D. That's what I'm gonna call him
Joey
from now
Big
on.
D.
Joey Big D slapping his Big D on the table.
He's got a new name this week, Filet Mignon. Yes,
nice.
And I assume it's a 90-kilogram steak, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
I know we're going to discuss it later, but let's say it. Conceição has just come out and called the Milan players overweight.
And that they don't sleep enough, apparently.
And they don't sleep enough. Well, it took Okafor 3 weeks to get into shape. 3 weeks at Napoli. And he's looking shredded.
He's looking shredded all of a sudden, yeah. I mean, it's clearly a culture issue right now, and this is something we often discuss over here, that when you look at this Milan team, the leaders are often the ones to let you down.
Yeah.
And if you're seeing that on the pitch once a week, then maybe it's something that's ever present throughout the entire week.
If you're
maybe lifestyle choices aren't as professional as they should be. Perhaps, of course, this is just going off that one report.
Well, yes and no, because we've seen behaviorisms from some of the players. Theo, it's either super low effort or he's nowhere near the physical condition he was in comparison to the past few seasons. There's a lot to talk about with Milan, so we won't get stuck on it that much right now. But what I will say is that the leaders are the ones that set the example. So you've got Captain Manyan or you've got Theo Hernandez or Leao that aren't in peak physical condition, for example, aren't taking it seriously. What are the new players going to think? What's the approach Jimenez is going to have or Joao Felix is going to have? But we'll get into that very soon, because we have another packed week to break down. We had football on Monday, obviously from the previous match day. We had Coppa Italia on Tuesday and Wednesday. We had the 6-pointer between Bologna and Milan from Matchday 9 on Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Serie A. I have to say, I didn't enjoy a second of football because I'm a Milan fan, and Thursday put me in a bad mood. It was on my birthday, which was a disaster. It was the first birthday where I felt like the birthday blues, and I had a shit day, and then Milan lost to Bologna, and it made the day even shitter. I'm like, no worries, on Sunday we're gonna go day drinking. And top it off by chilling on your couch and watching the game. And Milan lost to Lazio through a 97th minute penalty scored by Pedro after Manyan gave away the penalty. So I didn't enjoy it too much. But shall we start just going through the events?
Happy birthday,
Thank
bro. I'm sorry that's what your birthday ended up being, but it is what it is. It's out of our control.
28 isn't the birthday I'd like to remember.
No.
It's the birthday gift I got for when I turned 26, because Key got me tickets, really, to go watch Milan Atalanta in the penultimate game of the season, last home game of the season. We all know how that went. Milan won 2-0, Theo coast-to-coast goal, beat Sassuolo in the next game 3-0, and we
Theo
watched.
used to do that, eh? He was so good there.
Madonna. Thing of the past, huh?
Uh-huh.
Thing of the past. Let's recap a little bit what happened in the Coppa Italia, because there were some surprises. What wasn't a surprise, really, is that Inter did manage to get past Lazio. It was a stunning goal by Arnautovic that opened the scoring over
Should
there.
have been ruled out.
Should it have been ruled out?
Yeah, I think so. There was a player in an offside position impeding the goalkeeper's view.
Okay.
And there was a foul at the first post as well. So there were actually two controversial elements about that goal. However, there was some referee. I think it might have been the refereeing association. They basically justified the goal by saying that the keeper was nowhere near saving it anyway.
What the hell? Does that have to do with
Something
anything?
like that, basically.
That's-
But it was a lovely strike, beautiful goal. But it is weird when you see these things, not being penalized consistently. Let's just say that.
And you know what that means, eh? The fact that Inter got through. It's a double-legged derby della Madonnina Coppa Italia semi-final, brother.
Those are the only two games that Milan will win this season.
Exactly. That's what seems to be the case. Milan are gonna want success in the Coppa Italia. At that point, it looks like maybe that's the only way they're gonna get Europe at this point. Inter have bigger things to focus on rather than the Coppa, even though they do love a Coppa Italia, especially with Juve knocked out. The holders, the 15-time Coppa Italia champions, have crashed out. They did go 1-0 down to Empoli. Male scored an insane goal. Then they equalized in even better fashion, I think, through Kefrem Turam.
What a player,
He's
man.
incredible. He's incredible. He's
What a
the
player.
Turam family, the best brothers in the world, I think.
Once we said, man, Daddy Thuram Senior should hand us over a sample, man.
Hey, man, just just a little bit of a sample.
Bit of a sample,
Thank
you know.
Uh-huh.
While your girl's sleeping.
We're not promoting that.
Listen to this team that Empoli fielded against Juve to knock them out. This is how they started, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They had Vasquez in goal, okay, fair enough. Ismaili as the centre back, okay, fair enough. He's their best centre back.
Yeah.
To his left, Tosto, who is 19 years old.
Ah.
And to Ismaili's right, Marianucci, who is 20 years old.
Fucking right, boys.
And then in midfield, they had Kakauchi on the left and Sambi on the right, with Malek and Henderson in the middle. And then bang, in that regista position, they had Bacci.
Bacci. Tanti abbracci, Bacci.
Bacci is 19 years old.
Fuck,
all these youngsters are Italian, by the way.
Yes.
And then up front, Colombo, another young Italian, of course, but he's one of their main strikers. And Konate, who is Konate? Another Italian 18-year-old striker.
Yes, bro.
So
amazing.
this is how they came out, and they played really well, I thought, Empoli. And the interesting thing about this game was that as the game progressed, the subs D'Aversa was capable of making. He had the possibility to actually made them stronger.
Exactly.
And it was just amazing to see. You know, they played so well, Empoli, and in fact you see them make substitutions. They brought on in the second half Goglioccidze, who has been a fantastic
Esposito,
player.
Kwame,
Pezzella,
Gyasi.
Gyasi, and I like the way he brought them in as well. He brought in Goglioccidze at halftime. 60th minute, triple whammy, Pezzella, Esposito and Kwame. 73rd minute, you bring on Gyasi, that leader, that experience to help close out the game. And then he took out Bacci, of course, because the youngsters, you start to take them out as the pressure starts mounting in the game. You take that pressure off them. It's a great idea. And I really liked D'Aversa's approach to this game, and I think they played really well.
I think as well, Juve don't tend to start games off quickly at all, right? They typically tend to grow into the game in the second half, actually. They tend to start games quite slow. And that's when he fielded the youngsters. So there maybe he thought of it as though he wasn't running the risk of being blown out of the water immediately because Juve starts slow.
Good point, to be honest.
Thank you. Did you see the Motta chant after the game?
I did, and I thought it was quite creative, to be honest with you. Thiago Motta, pezzo di merda, right? What do you think about that?
I think that last year Juve fans did something similar, but it was protesting Allegri. I think they had a reason to, because there was still the dead weight and the same problems from all the previous coaches from Pirlo and Sarri and from those earlier Allegri days, they're still the same dead weight. There's still the same problem where they can't create and they just sit back and it's terrorist football. I think now they're protesting growing pains. I think, yes, getting knocked out to Empoli is shit and getting knocked out to PSV is shit. You're Juve, you shouldn't lose. But they're top four. They've re-entered the title race with a new manager, pretty much a brand new team that is super young and also plagued with injuries. So I think patience is a virtue. You could see the team is literally improving as the season goes on. They've found consistency and they're in the top four and they can fight for the league.
Absolutely. And I don't think that Juve's problems can solely be pinpointed onto Thiago Motta. You know, I think that they have problems in every single... They have problems, but there have been mistakes or there have been frailties in every department. So Giuntoli has left gaps in the squad, right, from the get-go. In fact, they had to address them aggressively in the winter market. The new arrivals haven't hit the ground running. Some individual mistakes like Cambiaso losing the ball clumsily, Vlahovic missing chances. You know, so it's not really solely a Motta thing. I think this is a young, new project and it's only going to get better with time. But you have to stick with what you have and support them and empower them because at the end of the day, they're 6 points off first.
And if you look at as well higher up, just to show you how obvious it is that the issue is from higher up, they haven't even managed to land a sponsor. They're still doing the charitable Save the Children thing, which I don't hate, but get a sponsor that's going to give you money. You know what I mean? That's a failure as well. So it's you do see signs of failures from higher ups. I think it's easy to... I think clearly what we're seeing from them protesting Motta is they're a fan of the vision and they're a fan of the players. They're not a fan of how the team is playing, but you need to suck to get good, obviously. Like we keep on saying, there needs to be that period where the team gets used to each other.
That's it, and the system isn't exactly, you know, all-out attack. It's a very pragmatic system, Motta's. So I think you have to. There's quite a bit of. There are quite a few details that need to be learned.
Yeah.
Before you know you can thrive in a system like that.
That's it.
So yeah, I think they need a bit more patience and let the team work in serenity. Right now, support your team because the teams above you have shown that they are very capable of dropping points.
Absolutely.
So, and you're right there, you know.
Absolutely, and they're calling Motta a piece of shit. Yeah. Like even Milan, who have been through so much with their ownership, from the Maldini situation all the way down to this shit show that's currently ongoing. What they're singing, they're attacking them personally. It's sell the club, sell the club.
You know, because he's the head of the club.
Exactly.
You know? And he's where all the problems stem from. So that makes sense, yes.
Yeah, I just think Juve fans might be being a little bit spoiled. Maybe they're not used to this being at this level. They're used to being higher up. Milan, oh God. So on Thursday, there was the replay of Matchday 9. The Milan's buyout is, but there's a game in hand. That's why Milan are 7th. I said last week that if Bologna and Milan both win their fixtures, then it's going to be even more pivotal because they'll have the same points and it's a direct battle for top 4. They both lost that game, so it was even more important because then it was like a battle for Europa League. And Milan lost. Bologna won 2-1. Milan took the lead in the first half, but Bologna were simply just better and more driven throughout, and they walked away with a well-deserved victory. I thought they outplayed Milan in every part of the pitch.
100%. Milan did score first against the run of play. It was Leao who did his surfing celebration, even got on the floor to ride the wave. I was totally captivated by this game. I was watching it so attentively because the individual battles were super exciting. Particularly, in my opinion, the Dominguez and Jimenez battle. Two youngsters trying to leave their mark on the league and trying to impress the clubs that they currently stand at. And I think Dominguez was getting the better of Jimenez over and over again. And at one point, Dominguez even turns to Jimenez and points at the ball. Because you're meant to get the ball, you know that, right? That was a great battle, I thought.
Yeah.
And not to mention as well, of course, in Doya against Pavlovic, for example, was a great battle. I'm watching Pavlovic tracking back to try to win the ball back. It was a very good game, and to be honest with you, what I thought was that Bologna looked like a team. They looked united. They looked hungry. They looked like they were willing to die for their coach. While Milan, on the other hand, I thought looked a little bit flaccid, a bit limp, especially in the second half.
They didn't look like a team. Milan,
They didn't look like a team. That's it. Yeah.
They look like a brand. It's frustrating. There's no chemistry in the Milan team. There's no grit. There's no desire. I think every 50-50 was won by Bologna. You see their players just throwing themselves into absolutely everything. How did Bologna's equalizer stand? I'm not sure. Now I didn't get a great angle, like the video assisted.
It looked like it was his hand.
It kind of looked offside, and it kind of looked like a handball.
On Fabian.
And I just think that if the shoe were on the other foot, then maybe it wouldn't have been. Let's just say nothing has gone Milan's way either from even the referee calls. You want to know one frustrating thing? João Felix stopped falling onto the floor when you shouldn't be falling onto the floor, because the refs know and they've been warned about you. And every time he'd be in a good position and he tries to win the foul, and he screams and he gets a yellow card, and it's just this whole.
Shout out to Santi, our resident Chelsea fan in our Patreon group chat, good friend of ours. He actually messaged, he's like, glad to see how the narrative on Felix has changed overnight. And it's absolutely true, right? How frustrating has he become, man?
Incredibly frustrating, and more to come on the Milan-Lazio game as well, because spoiler alert, Milan lost this game and then lost their other. We said Milan need to get 6 points if they're serious about top 4 against Bologna and Lazio. Milan got 0 points in those games. So needless to say, I think top 4 is a dream of the past. There is no top 4 for Milan. Breaking news, Milan do not get top 4 this year. Breaking news, Milan fight for Europa League, and I wouldn't be surprised if that at the end of the season they get rid of Conceição as well.
That's the worst part of all this, right? The fact that
the results have been worse. They've been worse.
It's just a waste of time, because we're gonna finish the season with Conceição, and next season they're gonna get a new coach, and the players are already hinting, like Leao after the Bologna game said, I have it here. What did he say exactly?
Buy my new underwear range.
No.
Use the code RAFALEAO10.
That's on his story. This is what he said in the interview. He said, today was a strange game. We didn't play good football, but we played the way the coach wanted. That is, with the long ball. The goal came like that. So he's saying we didn't play good football, but we played the way the coach wanted.
I think the wording can be better, but and misinterpreted. But that's essentially the case. I mean,
I thought the
Conceição doesn't like attractive football. He likes effective football.
Yes, and it's particularly difficult to execute the style when people are low on confidence and the players are making individual errors simply because of a lack of confidence, basically. So, in fact, you look at how many freak mistakes there have been in the past month, bro. Red cards, own goals.
I think there's a lot to add. A lot of the case examples we're going to use come in the Lazio game. So I think, shall we leave Milan for now?
One more thing I want to mention about the Bologna game, though, is the reason I don't understand why Milan played such an aggressive high line, because Bologna found so much success over the top.
Wrong.
In fact, even Cambiaghi, when he came on, it was his turn to completely destroy Jimenez, and that's how their goal came. Cambiaghi did Jimenez while he wasn't focused. Jimenez was daydreaming. And he played it through to Ndoye, who was fully stretched out, nothing Pavlovic could do. Pavlovic was on his man, I mean, there's a much to do when you're fucking body to body with your guy, but his legs are extended, he lunges forward.
You'd hope the ball doesn't come in.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, more to come, of course, in the Lazio game. Can't wait to revisit this topic,
this
bro.
is absolutely nothing. Let's jump to the title race, though. Because that is the hottest topic at the moment in Serie A, and of course it is, because Napoli hosted Inter at the Maradona, with Inter just 1 point ahead of the hosts, in a crucial Scudetto 6-pointer, and in third place, just 3 points behind the leaders, there's a hungry Atalanta, who are rubbing their hands at this fixture as they face 19th place Venezia just 3 hours before, with the chance of making some serious ground and even going first momentarily on goal difference. But they drew 0-0 in a super disappointing performance, their 5th draw out of 9 matches in 2025. But let's look at Napoli 1, Inter 1, brother. Okay. Inter came into this match, well, both teams had a few injuries. We heard early on that Anguissa was injured for Napoli.
Massive loss.
Massive loss. And we saw that Inter, apart from Pavard on the bench, they had no wing backs on their bench.
Yeah, that's been a big problem for Inter, and it has just come out, by the way, that Feyenoord have officially requested their league game to be postponed in order to recover fitness and players for the second game against Inter.
Oh my god.
So that's another disadvantage for Inter. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know either. Yeah. They have like one midfielder, if I'm not mistaken, Feyenoord at the moment. It's a ridiculous amount of injuries. But what did you make of this game? 1-1, the final score.
Yes.
Will you take us through it?
So, of course, this was Conte back at his usual best with his aggressive pressing system and structured attacking patterns. I thought that Inter... so the game started off, it was super cagey, right? At the beginning. And we're like, this game needs to open up. Or it's got like 0-0 written all over it. Inter scored that free kick. Di Marco, absolutely perfect peach of a free kick. And then, 30 minutes into the game, Conte flicked the switch. And Inter just couldn't keep up with Napoli. They were pressing, they were aggressive, they were playing man for man. Raspadori was pressing Bissek. Lukaku was on Acerbi to prevent the build-up play. Gilmour was pressing Bastoni. Di Lorenzo was on Mkhitaryan. Politano was tracking Di Marco. Lobotka was man-marking Çalhanoğlu. Everyone had their own man, and they didn't allow Inter to do anything. And it was kind of like you can't even tell what formation Napoli were playing out of possession, because they were just mirroring Inter man for man. It was asymmetrical, in fact, as a 4-3-3. And I thought that they absolutely destroyed them, and I was particularly impressed by that Gilmour and Lobotka partnership. For me, we're calling that Bilislav from now on.
Bilislav, I love it. I was personally seeing how Napoli recently have been enjoying packing the midfield, especially with the inverted wing backs and the 3-man midfield. I was full on expecting to see Billing as the replacement for Anguissa. He could play in that area, and he's got great size, which from set pieces, the same way that Anguissa was targeted in set pieces and puts in a shift defensively, I thought that was going to be Billing. But when I saw Gilmour, I'm like, okay, so Napoli expect to have the ball a lot over here. And you see Gilmour following the ball consistently through the game, making himself available wherever the ball is. Gilmour was. Lobotka remained that metronome, and Gilmour just added a sense of fluidity in that midfield. And the way they were moving the ball around from side to side was excellent.
It was, yes, and sometimes even bypassing the midfield and playing it straight onto Lukaku, who would knock it down perfectly. I know Lukaku missed 2 very good chances. However, his importance is there. I mean, he's pivotal for this Napoli side. I mean, Inter, I think, went for a defensive block after they scored that goal. I think playing Gilmour and Lobotka gave Napoli the ability to take advantage of a tired and relatively old Inter midfield.
That's true.
Now, it's not totally, I'm not going to say old, but maybe worn out. They're overplayed, right? And the rotation options, as we often say on this podcast, don't have the same qualities to be trusted in a game like this. So, with the profiles that Napoli played, they managed to pin Inter back, and they still managed to land successful crosses. You know, they were dominant in the air. They won many of their duels, I think, Napoli, when it came to crossing the ball. In fact, they kind of exposed Inter when aerially at the back. I was very impressed by Politano as well, who found a lot of space on the right and completed 5 out of 7 of his dribbles. And honestly, at one point, it was just end-to-end. Bastoni breaking down play, and then Buongiorno breaking down play. Those two both had great games. I
think particularly Bastoni had a lot more to do than Buongiorno. I thought Buongiorno was clean as a whistle. The amount of late tackles Bastoni had to put in was ridiculous. And I think there's a stat you showed me, bro, or a stat, not a stat, but a habit. When Inter take out Bastoni, they tend to concede.
Yes.
Now, how much of
coincidence?
A coincidence is that? Because Inzaghi does rinse and repeat certain substitutions he makes in the 60th minute and then the 75th minute. They're kind of rehearsed. But I don't think it's any coincidence that when you take out your best defender, the same way Juve are struggling without Bremer, Inter would struggle without Bastoni. I think he's that important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We also saw Inzaghi attempt a 4-4-2. This game, and it kind of backfired, to be honest, and he quickly reverted to the 3-5-2. So that's the plan B. On the bright side for Inter, they play ugly, but they don't lose. That's the good thing. And Martinez, man.
Well,
not Lautaro, Martinez, but the keeper, of course. Josip, his name.
Yeah, he's
Martinez.
He's just 26 years old. He's the future. I don't think they need to sign a keeper after summer. He's so good, and he's better than Sommer with the ball at his feet for sure. And the way he commands his area, I think for a 26-year-old keeper, he's insane at commanding his area. And those high balls that come in, you can trust him to get off his line, make good judgment, jump out and grab the ball or punch the ball out of harm's way. Genuinely, I'm really, really impressed by him, and a great shot stopper. The only goal that he conceded so far was the rebound on Billing.
Yeah, that's true. He is, of course, a great keeper. We saw him at Genoa last season. Very good. Spanish, yes. He's just a very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he'll give Sommer a headache for the rest of the season, to be honest.
100%. I do want to drill home the point that another positive for Inter is that they maintain first place. That's a huge one. I think that had Napoli lost this game, there was a big chance. I wouldn't say their Scudetto dreams were over, certainly not mathematically, but you know what happens to a team after they lose a direct... Look at Juve last season after they got blown out of the water by Inter. They were battling Inter for the Scudetto, then they fell off. Their morale was so low. Had Napoli gotten ridiculed in this game, or had they lost the game when they deserved to win the game, or they deserved to draw the game, then that would have been a headache for them. Conte would have maybe lost his cool if there was some controversial decision or he clashed with a player. Things could have gotten really complicated had Napoli lost this game. So like this was the only way where the title race is going to remain completely open. Inter maintain first place by 1 point. Napoli closely followed, and then you have the teams lurking in the background. Atalanta got a draw, so they remain 3 points behind. Juve got a win, so they've closed the gap to 6 points behind now. It's getting really, really exciting. I do think Napoli, to me, deserve to win this game comfortably. I think what we saw was a lot of God's work by Bastoni with those last-ditch tackles. He had one that was superb. I can't remember the details, but he had a superb last-ditch tackle. And just, at times, Napoli, they don't have their shooting boots on. At the end of the day, this is the team that rely on the likes of Scott McTominay for goals. Raspadori scored 2 of their most recent goals. Lukaku isn't exactly a huge goal scorer, so they do struggle to get goals, but I think that's what held them from winning this game. It's their issue scoring goals.
Fair enough. Yes, I think that It's just overall, yes. For Inter, this was a must-not-lose game rather than anything else. And same can be said for Napoli. So I think, to be honest with you, both teams would take the draw. The good thing for Napoli is that they scored late on, which is always excellent for morale.
Yeah.
And it was a new player who scored, who will get a massive confidence boost.
Absolutely, bro.
Ahead of Anguissa, who's injured. He'll be back soon, but still, till then, Billing is full of confidence right now. And Okafor is looking sharper as well. So until then, they have someone who's got a little bit of a turn of pace who can attack the byline, something that they don't really have with Neres injured.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very good points.
What a game, though.
Absolutely, I love these games, and every game Napoli play against one of the top teams is great.
It's true.
It's true. If Inter win the league, they would have won the league without beating Napoli this season, without beating Milan this season, and without beating Juve this season, which would be crazy. It
would be bizarre. Andrew Batman pointed that out.
He said that. Andrew Batman, shout out. You know what? Fuck it. Patron of the week. We forgot to do it.
Patron of the week. Andrew Batman. What a stat.
I think it's that time of the season, bro. Do me a favor. Open up Inter and go on the remaining fixtures. Let's do this. Let's start fucking doing this, man. Because it's happening. Napoli next. I'm going to read out Napoli's remaining fixtures, and then you're going to tell us Inter's remaining fixtures.
Disaster. There are like 3 competitions.
With all say them all. Say them all. They matter. Napoli, after they play Fiorentina, things look a bit easier for them. Let me tell you who they have left. So, Napoli, Fiorentina, Venezia, Napoli, Napoli, Milan, Bologna, Napoli, Napoli, Empoli, Monza, Napoli, Napoli, Torino, Lecce, Napoli, Napoli, Genoa, Parma, Napoli, Napoli, Cagliari. Those are some easier fixtures. When I say easier, I mean table-wise, right?
I mean, bro, they're lost.
I know,
they're
against
lost 4
Parma,
games
Cagliari,
are against teams fighting for their life, so it's difficult in a completely
but a
different...
Conte side should win those. A Conte side can score early or whatever, and their games are easier. Their games are certainly easier.
Yes,
than
I mean, Inter have an action-packed schedule coming up. Yeah, I mean, you look at now they have Feyenoord away, then Monza at home, then Feyenoord at home, and then Atalanta away, and then Udinese at home, then Milan away.
In the Coppa,
yes. Then Parma, Cagliari, Bologna, then Milan in the Coppa again, Roma, Verona, Torino, Lazio, Como, and that's it. Yeah. So
crazy.
quite a tough run.
The fixtures, obviously, of course, favor Napoli, because they're in one competition versus Inter's 3.
Inter have Bologna, Roma, and Lazio, who are technically the big, and Atalanta in the league. So that's massive.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, quite a challenging run-in for Inter coming up.
Speaking of Atalanta, they have a tough running coming up, and they just lost the game they certainly should have won, and it was against...
They drew against Venezia.
Sorry, they drew. Might as well have been a loss.
Bro, honestly, perhaps they should have lost.
Perhaps they should have, The games that Atalanta have... So now, just to paint the picture completely for everyone, so Atalanta are 3 points behind the league leaders, right? They have now... So after they spanked the living Moses out of Empoli away 5-0, you're like, okay, Atalanta are out of the Champions League, they're out of the Coppa Italia, they can focus head on trying to win the league now. That should be the next goal, right? So they draw at home to Venezia, 0-0, and now they have to play Juve away, Inter home, Fiorentina away, Lazio home, Bologna home, Milan away, then Lecce, then Monza, then Roma, then Genoa, then Parma. So they've got
both gave up on the away and the home. It gets complicated after a while.
Does. I don't know what I was doing with Napoli. I was saying their name the entire time. Like, what the heck am I doing, man? But super, super tough run-in now. Do you think they're more likely to win these games than they're likely to win the Venezia games? Maybe,
I think when games are more open, Atalanta thrive. They do better against a low block. Sometimes they overcomplicate things and they second guess themselves. And this game against Venezia, to be honest, they lacked luck. They spent the majority of the game outside Venezia's box.
Yeah.
They lacked clinical finishing. Lukman and Retegui missed two chances that they would never miss. Retegui's wasn't even an easy chance. It was a header after a perfect Zappa Costa cross. But we've grown used to seeing him scoring those.
Absolutely.
So-
That's one of the reasons I put them as a team that's likely to win the league, is because they have the capocannoniere this
They've got
season.
clinical finishers.
Lookman,
and then you look at
mister.
Lookman's chance. That was tragic. How did he sky it from there? Not to mention that Zappa, Costa and Cuadrado both clipped the posts themselves. So it was just an onslaught, to be honest with you. And then, like 24 minutes in, Venezia find themselves in a 2v1 situation with Zerbin running at the keeper. A player completely unmarked in the middle screaming for the ball. Zerbin decides to take it all the way and try to shoot. What a donkey. I would
wanker.
bench him. I'm not taking the piss.
Man. No.
That could be the difference between survival and relegation.
The reason.
And he's a lone player. Come on, man.
The reason they're playing Zerbin, obviously he's a very talented player. Why did they bring him in? Venezia, who play a Di Francesco system, play too offensive for their own good. They noticed that. Now it's a more pragmatic style where they sit back, particularly against teams like Atalanta that want you. They're going to invite the press and they're going to attack you. Venezia did a good job to sit back. If the opportunity comes for a counter-attack, play it to Zerbin, who can sprint and take it upfield and have a look up. And pick out his man. He forgot to do the last part. And he went for all the glory himself. That's what sucks about lone players, bro. That's
Absolutely.
what sucks about lone
They're
players.
just trying to make themselves seen. And there are plenty of ways a lone spell can go. You can either become the hero, right? Like, for example, Pobega, when he had gone to Spezia, kept them up, scored a few important goals. We've seen many cases of
Maldini as well. Did that very well.
Back in the day, there was an Inter legend, Recoba, was it, who had gone to Venezia?
I'm not sure. I wasn't born.
But yes, basically Venezia have some nice tools to hit on the counter with Nicolucci Caviglia orchestrating play in front of the defense, in front of a very solid defense, and then Oristano and Zerbin, you can run quite a lot. So it was quite disappointing. Not to mention Zerbin's miss where he tried to trip the keeper from right in front of him. That was also a bizarre decision. Yes.
I would bench Zerbin next game.
I would definitely do it. I'm just going to shout out Venezia's defense because they were absolutely splendid this game. I want to highlight Kande, who had a very good game, and he's just arrived from Metz, to be honest, a 27-year-old person from, I have no idea what country that is, bro. GBS, and that's flag. No idea.
Gabons.
I don't...
I'm not sure.
Gibraltar's. I have no idea. If you want to check in the meantime, that would be great.
What does GBS stand for?
Or look up Fali Kande.
Okay, so it's not quite Papua New Guinea, it's Guinea-Bissau. Okay.
From Guinea-Bissau. Yes, he had a splendid game.
There were two. Sorry, there's probably some political tension.
Left-footed centre-back, 27 years old, had a fantastic game over here. It says we talked about him a lot. Yes, the first Indonesian in Serie A, not to mention Xingtian. Xingtian had a great game as well, 22-year-old Belgian, right-footed. They complemented each other perfectly.
Xingtian. Shout out Jonut Radu as well.
Radu? Yes, he had a good game and goal.
He had a good performance.
Yeah.
He had 4 saves.
One of my favorite keepers, Radu.
He's my favorite keeper. I prefer him to Manyan. But if Venezia can do... So, in our predictions episode, like you guys know, if you listened to the last episode, I listened back to our predictions episode. And one of the things I told you was, in football, I believe in miracles. And I see a miracle in Venice.
Ooh.
I see gondolas, I see flares, and I see us there, bro. That's what I said.
I see a great team. Not a great team. Okay. That's perhaps hyperbole, but I see a good team here.
Hyperbole.
That
is perhaps hyperbole.
But look, I mean, Buzio and Caviglia are two good midfielders who could probably cope at a mid-table team, you know? And you look at Oristano and
Zerbin. Is top. He's genuinely top. He stays in the league.
He stays in the league for sure. And not to mention, bro, they're super disciplined and organized. And I think Di Francesco has grown as a manager as well.
Absolutely.
I think we can.
Yes, let's just talk about Atalanta a little bit because we won't get the opportunity to do so again. Atalanta, is this the reason they are not capable of winning the league this year? Does that, in your eyes, I know mathematically they're still there, but are they still there in your eyes?
Of course, Mala, I think they're still there. I don't think that this is anything terrible because the other teams like Napoli and Inter
Exactly.
have had this moment, this
Okay.
exact moment.
We're on the same page.
Yes.
We're on the same page. They have
It just
struggled
sucks, eh,
for
for
longer
them.
in 20.
Yeah.
If you look at their 2025, you can count the games that they won on one hand, I believe. So we're looking at. Sorry, guys, I'm just pulling out the calendar right now. Here we are. So they lost to Inter, drew to Udinese, drew to Juve, lost to Napoli, beat Sturm Graz, whatever, that doesn't really matter. Beat Como, so that's one win. Drew to Barca, drew to Torino, lost to Bologna, killed Verona, lost to Club Brugge, drew to Cagliari, lost to Club Brugge, beat Empoli. They have 3 wins and 2 of them were 5-0 this year. So where are Atalanta at the moment? Probably not in a good place mentally. Great place in the standings and a very opportune spot. And if Gasperini can get them a second win, especially with these really tough games coming up, where teams have a lot on the line, that means the games are going to be tough, but it also means the opponents can be quite erratic when they're fighting for something. So a lot of fun shit to look out for over there.
I think the important thing about playing against Atalanta is the psychological factor. You just need to remain concentrated, focused, and confident because they pin you back, they play the ball around, they overwhelm you. You need to remain strong and focus on the task at hand. I believe because it does look overwhelming. You know, sometimes I get tired, like I feel restricted watching Venezia pinned back into their box for 90 minutes, just clearing ball after ball after ball. But that's why their defenders impressed me so much this game.
100 billion and jillion %, brother. Shall we jump to Juve? Because Juve had an opportunity and they took it, with all the teams above them slipping up. You had the Atalanta draw, and naturally you had the Inter and Napoli draw as well. And that puts them, as we've been saying and really drilling home, 6 points behind the league leaders. They're 2 points ahead of Lazio in 5th now, just 3 behind Atalanta, and they are 5 behind Napoli. Let's take a look at Juve Verona, and also obviously discuss a little bit how do we think they're gonna end the season.
So Juve controlled possession from the get-go against Hellas Verona, but they did struggle to break down Verona's very compact defensive setup. They lacked fluidity in the first half. Colomwani and Thuram failed to capitalize on a few of their chances. Montepò had some excellent saves. There was one, I can't quite remember who it was on, but the way he got down was cat-like.
Still 29 years old. He still has time for a big move in him, Montepò. One thing I have to mention is Verona were incredibly defensive, which was ever since I called Zanetti essentially an anal receiver. Verona,
this, by the way, the save was.
I think so.
Yeah.
Verona have been super defensive, very much lining up. It's as you see it. It's a 5 at the back system.
Yes. And they did really well to frustrate Juve in the first half, and then that miracle by Suslov was not to be a miracle as it was chalked off for offside in the build-up. What a shame, man. That was some strike, and it really shook everything up. Like the stands, they have like one little column of one little away sector in that stadium, and everyone was going mental. You know, it was such a nice scene, and then it was so abruptly called off because it was ruled off, and then the players walked down the tunnel. So the commentator hadn't even realized that it had been called off.
Unfortunately, yes, it was called off due to an offside in the build-up. That happened a while before the actual goal, which is always frustrating.
In the second half, Juve increased the tempo. Motta brought on Coop Miners, who actually added control to the midfield, one of his better games. The breakthrough came when Locatelli's pass found Cambiaso, who set up the run for the opener. Verona remained deep, but Juve, of course, sealed the deal with a Coop Miners strike late on. I think Juve struggled to break down Verona, but eventually got the job done without really conceding much.
I think just to mirror what we said earlier, Juve have seemed to find consistency in these games, and you know they this year they beat Inter. Not so long ago they beat Inter themselves, Juve, They beat Como. They edged past Cagliari 1-0. They beat Verona. They're on an absolute roll at the moment. Getting knocked out of the Coppa, obviously you want to compete to win every single competition. But I think in your first Coppa and Champions League are the glitter. The most essential is the league. It's where you're spending 38 games. It's what you're preparing for every single week. There isn't a week where you're not preparing for the league. There are weeks where you're not preparing for Coppa and Champions League. It's what everyone is obsessed with. Juve, after they won those 9 in a row, they kind of started shifting more towards the Champions League mentality with getting Ronaldo and saying he's going to win us the Champions League.
Bringing back Bonucci despite the shame.
Yeah, exactly. And they're kind of obsessed with the Champions League and cup competitions. They're the kings of the Coppa, them and Inter. But I think in the league, Juve have really turned things around. I don't think it's the football they want to be playing yet, but the prioritization of winning games, even if it isn't winning games by playing amazing football, is absolutely there. They have a winning-minded coach and a winning-minded mentality.
Yeah, they've conceded fewer than the other teams in the top 4 and outscored Napoli by 2. So they definitely have some attributes. Of course, I think many of the clean sheets they got early on in the season helped to inflate that stat a little bit back when Bremer was fit, because Lloyd Kelly, although he was quite good yesterday and has been quite good at centre back, not as good at full back, it's not quite the same as having Bremer, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, the season is wild and anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's 5 wins in a row for them now, whereas the teams above them in their last 5, Inter have 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw. Napoli have 4 draws and a loss, and Atalanta have 3 draws and 2 wins. So out of the top 4 teams, they're definitely the most consistent, and Juve can absolutely do it, and they're absolutely back in the title race, and it's a 4-horse fucking race, man.
Che storia di un grande amore.
Bro, if you... I dislike Juventus as a Milan fan and whatever. I'm neutral for the podcast, whatever. I might scream if they win the league. It's
I'm not screaming.
I'd scream if they
I
win
mean, it'd be crazy.
The storyline
the story is mental.
For Motta, man, like that would be mental. As in, I'm not saying I would scream in celebration. I'm going to take my shirt off and
start crying,
parade and start like honking the horn in my car.
I'm just hoping Napoli or Atalanta can get it done. I'm hoping Atalanta can get it done, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm from now on, like, I'm for the rest of the season an Atalanta fan, I guess. If I want to fucking smile a bit, then maybe. So that's that. Shall we jump to... let's discuss Hellas Verona a bit, actually, before we do that. Because Hellas Verona's form has actually been a bit more positive recently, and they're actually in 14th place. And when I say positive, I mean they have 2 wins out of their last 5. It almost seems like...
Because they beat Fiorentina, they took advantage of Moiskin collapsing, quite frankly, and they managed to stay focused when their opposition was rattled. And they also beat Monza, because... Everyone's beating
Monza. Monza are an easier fixture. It's nice to see Faraoni back and like getting minutes. He's been there before.
And now, sorry, I'm totally interrupting you.
No, that's right.
Tengsted's back.
Tengstedt, yes. They're best player.
He's been out for a while. So you give him half a chance, he can get a shot on target, which is a lovely quality to have on a team like this. Because Livramento and Sarr can run, they've got legs on them. Mosquera, El Buffalo is a strong player, but they're not as intelligent and as refined as Tengsted is.
I'm really trying my hardest this season to sit back and try and enjoy Hellas Verona, because I get frustrated when a team always narrowly escapes relegation. But just like I'm looking at their team and it's so unrecognizable from the summer. all these like random players that they bring in January, and they just end up changing style completely and surviving. I'm just sitting back and I'm enjoying it this time round.
Yes, man. I mean, they bring on Kastanos, who represents Cyprus. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They've got a few decent players. But I must say, when I was in Verona, I said to myself, I'm going to go to the Verona store and get myself a Verona kit. None of these players actually, none of them actually inspired me or motivated me to get a kit. I was thinking Tankstead, but he hasn't.
Faraoni, I would.
Yeah.
He got me loads of assists on my first Fanta Calcio ever.
Montepo would be the guy.
Literally. He's friggin' fire. Let's jump to the battle for the Europa League and also the Conference League. Milan, I think, headlined this because they played 2 6-pointers for European football, and it was said that if they want Champions League, they need 6 points. It was said that if they wanted Europa, they need at least 3. It was said that if they're a completely unserious team this year who lose whenever something is on the line, they'll get 0. And that's exactly what happened. We've discussed the Bologna game. That was tragic, but what was even more tragic is Milan 1, Lazio 2, because as we've been really drilling home, now this wasn't the case in the Bologna game. There was no clear and obvious error from one individual, but we saw 3 clear mistakes in this game in particular from players. There was the Pavlovic red card. There was Theo on the first...
Harsh call.
Harsh
call, bro. Relax. Relax. How was that a red card?
Kendrick was shocked. He wasn't the last man. Gabbia was jogging.
Yeah.
Gabbia
and it wasn't like
jogging.
A studs up ankle breaker.
No. He wasn't last man. I don't think it should have been
harsh.
a red card.
Really
believe
harsh.
me, guys. I don't give a fuck. I sent him off. I don't give a fuck.
Say it. Like, I mean,
anymore.
they've all been red so far.
I think Milan have been. I'm not saying they would have won both games or even drawn both games. They could have very much lost because they're shit. They're ass, Milan, this year. They're my least favourite fucking team in the league to watch. Genuinely. They're
viewer retention stats.
Milan and Monza, my least favourite teams to watch this year. Where was I going with this? I think they've been hard done by a little bit from some.
But you were talking about the mistakes. So
yes,
there's Pavlovic.
There was Theo on the first goal, because he didn't cover for Pavlovic and zero.
He
intensity
didn't follow his man.
Didn't follow his man. No intensity, nothing. The Pavlovic red card, harsh but shit foul at the end of the day, and Manyan giving away a penalty. 3 individual errors in the game, and that last error in the 97th minute.
Yes, and then Conceição went on to call everyone fat. And Alan made a good point. By the way, Alan mentioned, he's like, it's true there have been individual errors, and it's true that things aren't going well and the team is misbalanced. However, when it comes to patterns of play, Milan are not creating clear-cut opportunities. Milan brought in this number 9 who thrives on service that you're meant to feed, and quite frankly, he's hard to even notice at times, and somehow he's still managing to get assists and goals, but during the game he's so isolated, you know? And it feels a little bit crowded. It feels like players are getting in each other's way. It feels like the final pass is often wrong, and that's from Leao, from Joao, from everyone, you know? It's just been terrible. But
no, I think Alan's right. If you get a striker like Jimenez, at this point with the way Milan are playing, you'd prefer to see a striker of the profile of Tammy or Giroud, quite frankly, because they're not feeding a striker that's there to be fed. And Milan are playing a system. Conceição, he likes the long balls. Defense
like an old dog.
like a 13-year-old fucking... Kelptal Caccia in English, I don't know.
Hunting dog.
Hunting dog, I guess. Or a boxer dog. They have big black balls. Yes, whatever, man. So they like long balls, but they're not winning any of the long balls. So essentially, they're just playing. They're knocking the ball forward, going with a high line, and being hit on the break and conceding. Midfield is super easy to bypass because at this rate, what's going on is Fofana's being benched for most of the games now over the past 3 games.
I think he's one of the ones that Conceição was referring to. Alan mentioned it as well. When he says that there are too many players who are overweight, I think Fofana is one of them. Just by looking at him.
And it's Musa and Reinders. And then Joao. And Reinders and Joao are
getting in each other's way
because they're trying to do the same thing, and I want Reinders to find himself in the situations he was finding himself under Fonseca, because that's where he thrives. I need more balance in the midfield, because their midfield is being bypassed, because it's a 2-man midfield with Musa, Madonna. running and run, Forest fucking run with Musa, because he's versatile and he does a good job playing fucking 4 positions in a single game. He's like a book of Kama Sutra. But stuff, right? They just always interrupting the flow of the game from running and running.
Was it
and
the
running.
Bologna game or the Lazio game where he shimmied left and then he shimmied right and then he shimmied left?
In the Bologna game.
And then he shot it directly at the keeper.
In the Lazio game, he didn't last 36 minutes on the pitch.
Yes.
Because finally, Conceição listened to us and he's like, I'm going to bench Joao. Because he's nowhere near. Our best player, he hasn't shown me anything. He's on a dry loan. I'm going to restore some balance. I'm going to go Fofana Musa in midfield. Get some balls in there, get some strength, whatever. I'm going to go Reinders behind the striker. Amazing. Yes, okay. 37 minutes in, Musa was so bad that he dropped right. He went back on his entire plan for the game. He went back
The
on
entire
it.
plan of balance. Nuno Tavares was everything Theo used to be in this game.
Yep.
Rovella Guendouzi provides a double pivot that has excellent chemistry, rapport, teamwork, just balance. They Lazio, I don't know, nowadays I look at the teams that Milan play and I envy them. You know, and I looked at that double pivot of Lazio and I was like, that's a nice double pivot,
Yes,
man. And
bro.
Rovella is one of the most exciting Italian talents, and Guendouzi has been super for them.
And how...
Isaacson had everyone rattled.
What I was about to
he
say.
got Pavlovic sent off and won them the penalty late on. What a hard-working player, and this is without Castellanos. Huh?
Against Theo, bro, he was.
Yeah,
It's a field day against Theo Hernandez
And
at the
then,
moment.
and then they get a penalty at the end. God knows how tense and how hostile the environment must have been. You're at San Siro, you've got 80,000 fans
You've got a
calling you a cunt. And then 37-year-old Pedro steps
Champions
up.
League winner,
Champions
Euros
League
winner.
5'4", big smile on his face, slightly chubby. You know, loves the game, loves the game.
While
Still great.
while he's doing the run up, Manyan's already dove to the right completely. He had barely even
he had
shot
a smile
yet.
on his face, Pedro, before he shot.
He's like, I'm gonna score the winner.
He
here.
knew.
I'm gonna score the winner. I'm about to score the winner in
That's
San Siro.
That's next level mentality. And Manyan was before Pedro even struck it. Manyan's on the floor.
He was singled out as a 90 kilo.
He is the 90
He's
kilo
the-
pork
the-
belly beef, bro. he went from Magic Mike the Eagle Manyan to Massive Mike the Beluga Whale Manyan, bro.
It's not even clever, like Massive Mike the fat shit,
The
like
funny thing is I prepared it.
Massive Mike the Eagle.
Massive Mike the Mammoth Manyan.
that was better. That was better.
I mean, you can be a good player, you can have all the talent in the world, and it's clear that Theo Hernandez and Manyan and all these guys have talent, but there's also your professionalism off the pitch as well.
Absolutely.
And it leaves too much to be desired for my liking. Too much.
100 million%. And now, just to show you, because I've got a song for Milan.
Yes.
I'm going to sing it.
You're gonna sing it?
I might sing the whole thing. You have 4
Yes.
minutes.
I
No.
do. You're the one going to Bratislava at 5 a.m.
And
tomorrow.
I'm free falling. 3 losses in a row. Ninth place.
That's beautiful.
3 losses in a row, 9th place. The past 2 weeks have been a disaster.
They've been
The
terrible.
crashing out to Feyenoord, losing to Torino, losing to Bologna,
since I
losing
left
to Lazio.
Milan.
Ever since you left Milan, bro.
Think about this.
The bean.
The bean.
You are gonna take it with you, huh?
I was going to take the bean.
Okay, Conceição's future. No, sorry, before I do that.
Shout out Zaccagni as well, who's excellent. By the way.
Yes, and I miss Fonseca. I said it. I miss Fonseca. Because the results have been worse without Fonseca. Jake, look at me. The results were worse without Fonseca. Fonseca, Milan's run in the Champions League where they almost got top 8. That was all Fonseca. Conceição played 3 games, I think, marginally won 2 of them and then lost 1. The loss to Feyenoord was ridiculous. They had 10 injuries. Fonseca, at least Milan would have had the run in the Champions League.
You know who I miss, bro? Maldini.
Ah,
That's who I miss.
I miss Maldini.
Because
I
Maldini
miss
kept
Massara.
a standard at this team. He was a reference point. Now everyone talks about Kyle Walker as the ultimate professional. Well, he's fucking got his willy out. I'm fed up.
Okay.
I'm fed up, right?
I'm fed up
That's
as well.
it. And I just want some. At this point, I want some stability. I want someone to be given the keys. Be it Conceição, be it. I believe in Conceição. He's a good manager. You know, he said that in his career he's never been in a situation like this where the dressing room has been so. Maybe not the dressing room, but where the team has been so disjointed. You know, the fans aren't supporting the team. The environment's hostile. You know. He said that this is a new situation for him, which just goes to show, by the way, nice planning. I read Bird bringing in someone who's literally like, I've never done this before. But he is a winner. He is a guy who can get the most out of his players. He's a disciplinarian. So I think giving him a preseason and actually giving him the tools he needs to work with the players that fit his style, maybe getting rid of some of the bad apples maybe in the team. I just don't want to see Milan bringing in I don't want to see what Milan are going to do, because Milan are going to bring in Fabregas. They're going to bring in Fabregas, and it's just going to be weird, man.
Okay. I think we're getting a bit ahead. Firstly, Milan are going to sack Conceição at the end of the season.
Yes, no matter what.
I'll bet €1,000
Yes.
Milan are going to sack Conceição at the end of the season.
But if he wins the Coppa, he would have won 2 trophies.
It's so hard. It's so hard to join a team midway through the season when they're performing shit. Everyone's sad and 90 kilograms. And you've got players that aren't yours, okay? The second he got the player that he wanted, which was João Felix, the team got worse. Literally, I think we only beat Roma since João Felix came in. The rest of the games were losses. Good, nice. So I'm not too sure. You have to trust in him because he hasn't had a pre-season. What he did at Porto was amazing. He's not going to play attractive football. He's a disciplinarian, and we at least know that with a full pre-season and with some good recruitment and removing some bad apples, Milan can be good. If Milan get Fabregas, if Milan sack him and bring Fabregas, just fucking ride the wave, dog.
Yeah,
ride the wave.
I've always ridden the wave. Always. Always, bro. I mean, we've been through the worst.
Yeah,
I lost all my hair
We're
watching this
stop
team.
riding the wave now, dog. I can't do it anymore, bro. I can't. I'm so upset how I don't look forward to weekends anymore. I'm excited to work, man. Monday to Friday is so fucking
This is becoming
good. I have real problems,
This
man.
episode has gone off the rails and it's become depressing, quite frankly. But let me just say this one last thing. I will move on from Milan for the listeners' sake, okay? We watched Milan during the banter era, where the players were worse, but the hearts were bigger. And that's why I enjoyed watching Milan in the banter era. And I supported them so much more passionately than I find myself supporting them now. Because nowadays it feels like everyone's representing their own brand, you know? One of the things that has given me hope and has brought a bit of a smile to my face is Reinders. Ranieri.
Yes, how good, bro. How good. The best player.
What a guy.
By
It's
a
not even that
landslide.
much. He could totally be forcing his way out of this.
He
mess.
could, bro.
What a
He
guy.
could be at Real
What a guy.
Madrid
The second
at the end of this
Indonesian
year.
in the league.
What a guy, Tiani Reinders.
What a guy, honestly. What a player, what a guy.
And a shout out to Leao's underwear brand, which by the way, after a loss, he's lifting his shirt up.
No, we mentioned it last
episode.
episode.
We mentioned that last episode.
Absolutely terrible.
I just want to do it again.
The Feyenoord game.
It was the Feyenoord game.
Milan were knocked out of the Champions League. But anyway, who's next?
Bologna Cagliari.
A comeback. A nice game.
A very nice game.
So Bologna have the luxury of playing Milan, and Dan Ndoye has an excellent game. And then the next game they play Orsolini instead, and he has an excellent game,
bro.
right? Because they actually have some nice depth to them. Not to mention they rested Ferguson from the get-go against Cagliari, and he came on in the second half. And bro, he is everything for that
Ferguson,
team.
right?
Yes, and he doesn't look like he's been out with an ACL injury at all, because he is the metronome. He's the creative player. He knows how to play
as well.
Yes.
He doesn't shy away from a challenge. It's surprising for
and
someone
in that pivot he works really well, bro. I was surprised, to be honest. But yes,
him and Remo Freuler together, man, genuinely amazing.
It was a little bit sleepy for Bologna to allow Piccoli to do what he did, because he ran at 5 kilometers an hour towards their defense.
It was a good move by him.
It was a good move. He drove
Played
all
it
the way.
wide,
Played
drove
it,
in.
but then pedestrian defending. No one followed his run. And in fact, he found the gap right between the two centre backs. But yes, very good by Piccoli. Great goal.
It's where he's good.
And Augello, what a cross. Ever since he's found his parrot, he's been great. But yes, and then of course Cambiaghi, Ferguson and Odegaard came on, and they changed the game. I think Cambiaghi's energy and movement has been creating a lot of problems for opposition.
Absolutely.
Bologna have many players like this who are capable of taking on a man. Like Orsolini can do it. Dominguez is great at doing it. Cambiaghi's a nifty little dribbler as well. We saw him at Empoli last season.
Doi as well,
and they managed to win a penalty. Orsolini scored it, and then they managed to get a winner when Cambiaghi played it to Orsolini himself.
Yeah. No, they have such a cool team, Bologna, and this is why I was so adamant at the start of the season that they're not gonna fall off as aggressively as people think they are. They still have got sometimes. People really overrate the marketable players. Calafiori and Zirkzee were obviously the most marketable players in that team. Freuler, less so. Orsolini, people are used to him.
But they were very
nowadays 'cause he's
unique
club
to a
legend.
system, and
Yes,
that's why they stood out.
the fact that this is what made Bologna's season so good. The fact that they brought in Italiano, what a great fit he has been to this team. He fits them. It's a
Even
match made
culturally.
in heaven, even culturally. And he's so well respected there. He's good with the fans. Amazing. I love
Man of
that.
the people, Italiano.
I love that partnership. But the fact that they have found Castro and they have found Dominguez, those two are revolutionizing this team, and it's a new wave of young talent that is coming up through Bologna. Out with the old, in with the new. Castro is everything this team needed up front after losing Zirkzee. Dominguez is so fucking talented. He's just 21 years old. And the fact that they have him, Cambiaghi, Orsolini, and Ndoi, that's depth, bro. That is depth. And it is for people that play for the shirt. Orsolini is a club legend. Ndoi has doubled his fucking... He's quadrupled, quintupled his numbers from last year. Last year, I believe he scored 1 goal, if I'm not mistaken. This year, his output has been incredible. Ndoi. He's been super, super important for them.
Shout out to Marco Di Vaio and of course Giovanni Sartori, who are the technical and sporting directors of Bologna, who managed to keep this club competitive against all odds, because it looked like a freak season under Motta, but turns out there's a great project, and it's been this Bologna project. I remember in the early days of this podcast we used to talk about what an international team they have and how limited they were by Mihailovic's style back then. So yes, they have been producing quite a few talents for a while.
Yeah, no,
bringing the best out of talents rather than developing them per se. But
yeah, completely. Bologna also, their form is immaculate naturally. Big wins recently, obviously beating the likes of Atalanta, the very competitive game that they won against Torino. Their win against Milan, of course, there was a small hiccup. Their loss against Parma, which is very, very interesting. I'm still not too sure what happened over there. But great work again by Bologna as they continue to push to get as best a finish as they can get this season. Cagliari, of course, I feel like they had a good game. They were competitive in this game. I just think quality-wise, obviously, there was a big difference in the amount of energy. Bologna are energetic and they attack wave after wave after wave. And you've got really tricky, nimble players running at you. And unpredictably, because you've got Castro and then that drops deep into the midfield. The wingers, you don't know whether to expect them to stay wide or to come in. Then one of them stays wide and then you notice that there's a gaping hole in the defense and someone's attacking it. What was that?
I winked at the camera.
Fantastic. So I think they just had a hard time defending, because it's not like they shut up shop completely, but they had a hard time defending their lead.
Yes, and I thought Zortea had a tough time. Adopo had a bit of a tough time. Luvumbosito hasn't quite been himself ever since coming back from injury. So the fact that Bologna had 2 waves of different forms of attacks, I think really overwhelmed Cagliari.
Some key fixtures coming up for Cagliari. They play Genoa and then Roma, and then they play the likes of Monza, Empoli, of course. Then they play the likes of Inter, Fiorentina, but then they also have Verona, Udinese, Como, Venezia, and then they end the season by playing Napoli. So there are some vital matches over there. Some really cool 6-pointers. Cagliari love a good 6-pointer. That famous 4-3 comeback against Frosinone. It's one of my favorite 6-pointers in history. The relegation battle is heating up.
2 more wins and a draw will probably have them safe, I think.
They're on 25 points. 2 more wins and a draw. 25, 28, 31, 32 points.
I mean, when a team
No, wait, I'm stupid, bro. You said 2 wins. So 25 plus 6 is 31.
You know, I mean, it's
No,
very...
I'm right. I'm not stupid.
Very difficult for a team to get relegated with 30-something points. It's not common. Empoli had got relegated, a very good Empoli team with 30-something points, but it's not very common.
It's tough.
It's
tough because Empoli, Parma, Lecce are very, very capable of winning these games.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a dogfight, man.
It is. It's gonna be fun till the end.
Yeah.
For us. For them, it's
exactly.
gonna be very stressful, and then they start again.
On to Fiorentina, Lecce, brother.
A professional display, no? From Fiorentina.
In ways, I think the scoreline suggests that, but I think they lacked some killer instinct throughout the game.
Absolutely, especially Gudmundsson at the end.
Gudmundsson and Beltran.
Miss. The only goal in this game, of course, came in the 9th minute when Gosens scored off a Dodo cross.
Towering header by Gosens.
This was an interesting 3-man defense set up by Fiorentina with Pablo Mari as the central defender, while in midfield, Cher Indur made his first ever start for Fiorentina. Cher Indur is a 20-year-old player who came up from the Brescia Academy. He was actually at 4 different youth teams. 3 of them are Brescia, Atalanta, and Benfica. The other one's San Giacomo, who I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah, he has been at Benfica, PSG, and on loan at Braga and Besiktas. And he joined Fiorentina in 2025. And he played decently, yeah?
Yeah, the good game.
Good player, all-rounder, very, very box-to-box midfielder.
Still 20 years old. Had 81% pass success rate. He won 5 aerial duels, which is very good. Won the ball twice.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, good full debut for him. And just to point out the formation that Palladino opted for, a page out of Atalanta's book here, with the 3-5-2 with 2 strikers that are typically attacking midfielders.
Atypical strikers.
Yeah, Zaniolo and Beltran, of course.
Exactly. The team
with Keane out, basically concussed, essentially.
So the emphasis was on width from the get-go. Of course, with the wingers out wide, you have Gosens and Dodo, not to mention the strikers. Both love going wide. So, yes, Beltran, you're saying, was wasteful, of course, because of the penalty, right?
The penalty, yeah.
There was a handball by Pierret, and Beltran hit the post on a penalty, and he also struck the crossbar from way out, right?
Yep, well, way out on the edge of the area, but it would have been an amazing goal by Beltran. I thought Beltran played well. He got me a 3 on Fanta, obviously, because he missed the penalty. But when no one was really creating anymore for Fiorentina, Beltran was the one that could really drag the ball forward and force a shot out. And he's the one that essentially put Gudmundsson on a plate towards the end to score, and he fumbled it completely.
Yeah, exactly. So Lecce were missing Pierotti, who got injured before the game. Yeah, and to be honest with you, they struggled. They created some chances, like Kristovic forced a save from De Gea in the first half. In the 90th minute, there was a golden chance for Vega, who shot it over from close range. That could have actually got them the equalizer, but But I think that this was a very important victory for Fiorentina after 3 straight losses.
Yes, 3 straight losses, and then a victory against Lecce. Milan, 3 straight losses, and now they play Lecce. So we'll see we'll see if
You want
Milan
another
can
stat?
replicate that.
Lecce are on a goal drought, and it's been 4 games since they scored. So they failed to score against Bologna, Monza, Udinese, and Fiorentina.
Both teams to score.
Both teams to score against Milan, right?
Yes.
That's it. And Magnan misses the next game. I didn't tell you. He got disqualified in the tunnel, apparently. It just came out before we started recording.
What is this?
He's
Disqualified.
he misses the next game, Magnan.
What did he
I
do?
have a screen over here.
What did Magnan do, man?
Complaining, I guess, talking to the referee.
Okay.
Look, squalifica per Magnan. The sports judge's statement. But I don't have the statement because I cropped the picture for some reason.
We're in a bit of a rush
yes,
to start.
no problem.
Okay. Next game, let's jump to what Roma are doing at the moment.
So Roma played last night. The night before.
The night before. They beat Como 2-1. First, just a shout out to the Philadelphia Cheese Coach of the Month, Claudio Ranieri.
Is that what it is?
Yes, the Philadelphia
Cheese Coach.
Well, I added the cheese just to make it funnier, but the Philadelphia Coach of the Month, Philadelphia Cheese Coach of the Month. Yes, Claudio.
He deserves it. They've been on fire.
They've jumped Milan now, not that that's saying much, but fantastic. And to win against Como, when Como, they had, this ended Como's tough running, I believe. But they actually got 6 points. They run exactly. They played Atalanta, Bologna, Juve, Fiorentina, Napoli, and Roma after each other, and they got 6 points. And
they'll take that.
They'll take that, and they were getting consistently better and better. They gave Roma a game over here. Opened the scoring.
They dominated possession, 58%. They scored first. Da Cunha exploited Mancini's pace. He made him look like he was on a skateboard with square wheels.
A great play by Da Cunha to start the move, and great hold-up play by... Sorry, not great hold-up play. A very well-weighted pass by... Madonna, I'm forgetting his name. I'm a big fan of his. Where is he? Give me a second. I'm going to tell you. Perrone. Maximo Perrone. Yes. Great, very well weighted pass played behind Mancini as well.
Yeah, it was perfect. It's like he knew Mancini's pace exactly. It was perfect. So Como dominated 58% ball possession at halftime. Ranieri decided to go to a 4-4-2, introducing Dovbyk and El Shaarawy, later followed by Cristante and Salamakers. These changes proved decisive. Of course, Salamakers equalized, and then Kempf got a red card, which tilted the game, and Dovbyk sealed the comeback. And you can tell, man, these guys, at the start of the season, Dovbyk would score, and everyone would get around him, and they'd look almost relieved, like they were going to start crying with the amount of pressure that was around them. Now you're seeing these guys, they're having fun at this point. Literally. They're enjoying their football. Cristante was pivotal in the game.
Literally, and they're in the best form of the entire league. Just win after win after win for Roma. Completely revitalized. They'll definitely have a European push now. They can definitely push for Europa League and see what can be done over there. Their last loss was against Milan in the Coppa Italia. Before that, they hadn't lost a game. In Serie A, they haven't lost a fucking game this year. The last game they lost to was Como, the one before, in the 15th of December. They haven't lost a game after that. And won the majority. Just to get a coach, because it's almost mainstream to praise Ranieri for everything that he's done, because he won the league at Leicester. He saved Cagliari from relegation. And that's how he wanted to end his... And it's like just a pure miracle worker. And a genius. A timeless... It's so rare. Even Mourinho fell off a bit at the end. It's so rare to have a manager with that long a lifespan to stay that relevant. When he goes to Cagliari, you're like, okay, he couldn't do it anymore. He got Cagliari up and he kept them up. Amazing. That was his standard at the end. No, it's fucking not, bro. He comes out of retirement in his 70s and he did what De Rossi and Juric, two coaches in their prime, failed to do. It's remarkable. I know it's mainstream to praise him, but fuck, man.
No, he's a great manager and a great man as well, apparently. Good person to work with. Yeah, just a lovable guy, to be honest. How can you hate Claudio Ranieri? Also, Mourinho did win Roma trophy, which was massive towards the end of his...
Yes, it's true. It's true.
So yeah. So maybe a coach who can also compete longevity-wise, I think, Mourinho. But yeah, it is bizarre. The extent to which Claudio Ranieri has been performing at this...
I'm gonna stop you, but Mourinho's in Turkey. Ranieri's older than him. You know, that could be Mourinho makes a comeback and goes back to Europe and with a top team and does well. But the fact that Ranieri's in his 70s and turning Roma's season around in one of the toughest competitions, and he's doing it against teams that man-mark you and press you to oblivion. He's doing it against teams that play catenaccio. He's doing it in Europe to a certain extent as well. It's just this timeless formula, whatever it is, or this creative, intelligent mind that just keeps on adapting and changing the way that he plays, evolutionizing.
Yes, no. I totally agree with you. Mourinho's in Turkey for now. For now.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, you think next is like Cyprus?
No,
Mourinho's gonna come coach Hamrun Spartan.
No, I think Mourinho. What makes Mourinho a great coach are a lot of things. We shouldn't get carried away in this conversation. But I don't think his system and the way he plays translates well to modern day football. I could be proven wrong. He could probably put a shift in and motivate some players to have great seasons. But I think the versatility that Ranieri offers is way more versatile than what Mourinho offers, which is one system at the end of the day.
I think that Mourinho is best suited nowadays for knockout football. And to be honest with you, I see him
winning a World Cup,
transitioning to that, and that's the best for Mourinho. I think.
I think so. I think he should be.
I think it's inevitable for us to see him at these major international competitions.
England.
I don't know if he'd do that.
I think he would. He'd do England. He'd do Italy. I think Mr. Worldwide.
Believe in yourself. I had no idea Pitbull was so motivational. By the way, I've been seeing these clips.
Been there, done that. He's that kind of. No, he is motivational. He'd be a great manager. Shall we jump to relegation, because I know we have some questions we want to take later on as well.
Yes.
And I believe we're like 1.5 hours in.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. So relegate. It's a good time to start relegation. So we've already discussed teams like Venezia. We've already discussed Hellas Verona, Cagliari, so on and so forth. There were some matches like Monza Torino, Udinese Parma, and Genoa Empoli that I think would be good to take our listeners through.
So Monza Torino was a game that statistically doesn't give you the correct picture, because watching this game, there was only one team in it, in my opinion, and that was Torino. I think they controlled the game. I think they were very comfortable. They struggled in the first half to create some clear-cut chances, but eventually it was Vlasic who really managed to unlock Monza's defense, setting up Elmas for the opener just before halftime. And then in the second half, they actually increased their attacking intent despite scoring in the first half, and it was Casadei who managed to get the second. Monza tried to play with Ganvula and Keita up front to try to create something, but they just seem like a team that plays without any hope. A team that plays. Well, they almost look like a team that has accepted their fate already.
Monza, right?
Yeah, and it goes against everything that Galliani was preaching a few games ago.
Bless them. They tried something different. They tried to start Zeroli, Palacios, and Balde. All ineffective, in my opinion. Balde seems out of place. It looks like he's been away from Serie A for a while. Palacios at fault for the goal. He gave the ball away in a very casual way, unfortunately. Zeroli wasn't terrible, but you know, actually I thought Zeroli was pretty good. He was one of the brighter parts of Monza's team. Some things like at a point he had a very wayward strike, for example, which shows some inexperience. But I think with the smaller sides, he could put in a shift in Serie A. He's a growing, budding talent, and it shows that he'd be the captain of Milan Futuro, you know, and of Milan's youth team. So he was quite decent.
He was all right. It's true. He won a few duels as well. He didn't look. Not only did he not look out of place, he looked like one of the better players.
I thought so as well. Gamvula, he had some moments where he displayed good hold-up play, decent hold-up play, but otherwise nothing. I think it's that classic thing, like they're looking more like a Nesta side now than they're looking like, remind me his name, he's already irrelevant in my head.
His name escapes me, but I'll check.
I said Ballardini like 2 hours and a half ago, and I know his name is similar, so I just want to call him Ballardini.
Bocchetti, thank you for killing me.
They're already looking more like a Nesta side than a Bocchetti side, so they're you can see the attempted passages of play. It's just Nesta earlier had the likes of Maldini and a target man like Juric, who's good with his back towards goal. Unfortunately, that's not the case for him now. He has a very weak inside to play with. Weekly bye-bye to Monza. They're down and there's no way that they stay up. I think it would take way more than a Davide, Nicola and Jesus Christ love child to help them stay up. Torino, on the other hand, 2 wins in a row for them. Over Milan and over Monza away, which isn't tough. And what we're hearing from the crowd is they're singing the same song that Milan are singing, Vattene, Vendere, Vattene, Cairo.
Sell, go away.
And just as that was happening, they, for the second time only this season, they won 2 games in a row, and last week it was against Milan. And 2 of their winter signings scored.
Yes. This whole thing about Cairo, I mean, Cairo is a stubborn man when it comes to negotiations, and quite often he had assets that he didn't maximize because of his stubbornness. However, I look at this team and I think that Cairo has put together over here a very competitive and exciting team with potential upside over here, because you have some players who are going to go for a lot, you know, the likes of Ricci, for example. You can sell Ricci for a shit ton of money. You look at Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, who's a great goalkeeper who's still relatively young for goalkeeping standards. Not to mention now the moves made, bringing in Elmas and Casadei, almost perfectly addressing the limitations of the team.
The creating of the chances that simply wasn't happening.
Exactly. Not to mention as well that this is the guy who brought in Duvan Zapata, you know, and all this stuff. They're not a terribly run club, in my opinion. I think, perhaps they expect more, the fans.
They expect more.
I don't know the full extent of the
that's the thing. I can't give an educated, like, if I were to say, because from an outside perspective, the way that I'm looking at it is they've got a good team that was put together. Like you said, they've got some gems that they can really cash in on. I know there were certain situations like with Bellotti where he should have sold him earlier, for example, and not when he had no legs on him, that could have made more money. And I know that even though the fans never wanted him to sell Bellotti, I know that could be quite frustrating. And other situations, I'm sure he wasn't investing when they had Juric, who's the worst manager in Premier League history, apparently, nowadays.
It's not going well for him.
No. But now they've moved past Juric. They got a young coach in Vanoli. In January, he really invested. He brought in Elmas and Casadei and Biraghi. Those are some really, really fucking good signings. Of course, a bit of a weird deal with Casadei. Can go back to Chelsea, whatever. But positive in my eyes. I mean, they're 11th place. They're one spot below where they were last season, with a new coach, with brand new players. I don't think it should be negative.
I think the fans of Torino look at the likes of Fiorentina and Bologna, who were kind of like on par with them a few seasons ago, and they see what they have done and where they have climbed, while they remain in mid-table, right?
Do they know what a change in owners tends to do?
Well, it depends, right? I mean, look at the ones on.
But Fiorentina and Bologna, for example, it's investments from the past. It's not like you can just get new. What if they think if Red Bull take over it could be the case. Red Bull are fucking lit. But Red Bull are the ones that are interested in Torino, and they've been interested in them for years and years and years and years. They want to make Torino great again.
I think, considering the fans probably might still think of the times when they were fighting relegation for those seasons. You know? So maybe that was under Cairo as well. So probably
well, that's growth.
that influences them.
That's growth. Yeah. Keep in mind, like 6 seasons ago, Fiorentina battled relegation.
Yeah, it happened.
The Ribéry, I think.
Think about it. Man United are battling relegation right now.
Next season, Milan are probably going to get relegated. But I think...
And then there was, Genoa against Empoli, right?
Well, there's Genoa, Empoli, there's also Udinese, Parma.
Yes. Shall I give a quick rundown of these?
Yes, do it.
So, Genoa Empoli ended 1-1. It was a very good defensive display from Empoli, restricting Genoa's attack and using the left flank to create their chances. Mostly their midfield was compact, and Pezzella's overlapping runs helped them to control possession, and this eventually did lead to Grassi's goal, his first goal of the season. Genoa struggled to break through with their 4-2-3-1, failing to generate numerical superiority in attack. Vieira's adjustments in the second half, adding more of an offensive presence, had little impact until Empoli's defensive lapse gifted Vasquez an equalizer, because that's what they did. They literally gifted him the equalizer. They took a deflection, and Silvestri kind of how would you explain what he did? He tipped it into the net.
Yes, he got 2 hands behind the ball. Should have never fumbled that one, but he did. That is what I call he's Genoa's favorite player, because they're thrilled by a blunder made by a former Sampdoria goalkeeper.
Exactly.
So Genoa would absolutely... He was some player a few weeks ago. Empoli, I think they showed us shades of their first half of the season, particularly in the first half, which is essentially tactical discipline. Keep in mind, this week they played 90 minutes against Juve as well, and went to penalties. So they showed us tactical discipline, a solid defensive shape throughout, and then unfortunately it was a blunder by the goalkeeper that gifted it to Genoa, who
hadn't created much at all at
Luigi Ferraris.
Yes.
So it's great to see Empoli putting in a performance like that, and they're by no means done and dusted. Obviously, we all know they're not done and dusted. But listening back to our prediction episode, we both had them in last place. And then someone had told us that Italian talent will save them. If you're listening, tell us who you were who said that, because I can't remember. I forgot, which is interesting, because we said they might start off well because of the young talent, but then they'll need experience if they get into a relegation battle. So we're still arm wrestling. You were winning, and now we're like here. I really don't know where it's going. But reach out to us. And then there was Udinese Parma. Udinese, one of the most informed teams in the league. That is, where is it? I have it in bold. 4 wins and 1 draw in their last 5.
Runjaic is doing God's work. They were defensively solid. They dictated possession. They limited Parma offensively. They got a penalty and they didn't argue over it. And Lucca gave the ball to Thuvan, and Thuvan scored the penalty. All round a very professional display by Udinese, handing Kivu his first loss in Serie A.
I think Parma were in the game throughout. They were always within touching distance. Obviously, just 1-0. They missed 2 huge opportunities through man, where there was a brilliant Padelli save, and shout out to Padelli for that save, because it was remarkable.
The former Inter man, Padelli, right?
Yeah. And Almqvist had a great opportunity as well in a very similar area to the Dennis Mann chance, and Solé managed to clear it off the line. And this is Parma with Kivu, at least what it looks like, is they're capable of absorbing the pressure, and then they have that liberty on the counter. And Mann, a lot of good improvisation, the same kind of improvisation he had the week before, and he did really well to force the opportunity over there. And they've really got players that can hit you on the break, like Almqvist as well. And I think that's good when you're playing a physical, dominating team like Udinese, and perhaps the bigger teams as well. And then they even have the players that can take control in a game. Now with Bernabe back in the team, they really have someone that can dictate the tempo of the game, which is one of the major things they struggled with halfway through the season when they had that dip. The loss of Bernabeu was
massive.
huge for them.
He's one of their most important creative players. Not to mention that they brought in Juric, and he got injured immediately, which sucks for them as well. So, shout out to Solé. What a signing he was!
Absolutely.
Wow, what a signing! What a player!
Huge.
Yeah,
huge.
But that's pretty much it. Shall we take on questions?
Let's take on some questions. I know, so I didn't really have much time to prep
don't worry,
the questions,
don't worry.
unfortunately. I know there are some that asked us for like our 11 of this and our 11 of that. That's a bit tough for me right now, but we can do them next week in that case.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So Max on Instagram says, question for the pod, who will Milan replace Conceição with before the summer? Pep Guardiola. So I think Pep Guardiola is unlikely. Fabregas or De Zerbi, I would say, because I think there's this thing that the players seem unhappy with the style of Conceição. I don't know, in interviews you can hear it a little bit, players speak in subtle jabs.
Yes.
And then I think they'll go for someone a little bit more positive, like a Fabregas or De Zerbi type. So
positive when it comes to style of play, because De Zerbi will whip his willy out if it's not going well.
Don't put him and Walker in a club together.
Let's not put them in the same level.
Let's not put them in the same room.
So I think they're both possible. I don't know the technicalities of Fabregas' contract with Como since he's involved. But Fabregas was linked to Milan for his entire career, and a part of him wanted to join Milan. For sure, a part of him wanted to join Milan.
He had been linked for so long.
For ages, bro, for ages. And I don't think that dream is dead for him. I think he looks at that with a, wow, I never got the opportunity to play for them. What a feeling it would be to manage them at San Siro, and what a great step up that would be. But some advice for Fabregas, even though I kind of want him, is don't. Keep doing what you're doing at Como. Keep growing this team. Keep nail in your philosophy. Show everyone your philosophy through 3-4 seasons at Como.
Great things with that cool team.
He can get them to a conference in the future. Let him that. De Zerbi is a Milan fan. They're both very possible to come through. I think De Zerbi is more likely because they've already looked at him. And considering how Milan operate, they looked at Fonseca, and then they looked at Lopetegui, and they're like, we're going to go for Lopetegui. And everyone's like, no, don't go for Lopetegui. Okay, we'll go for Fonseca or Conceição. Everyone's like, get Conceição. They got Fonseca. And then then they didn't like Fonseca, so they went to Conceição. They were previously looking at De Zerbi, which means they'll probably go for De Zerbi.
That's some fucking depressed Milan fan logic. Right? De Zerbi's got Marseille in second place behind PSG. Of
4
course.
points off them, not bad, huh? That's 3
That's
points.
not 4 points.
That's 3 points. Sorry, I thought it was an 8.
Yeah. It's not either. That's 62 and that's 49.
Oh my god, no, they're way off. Okay.
They're way off, but they're still doing well. And he's got a band of criminals over there. And he's getting them to play football, which is pretty cool. Yes, I would like De Zerbi personally.
I'd love De Zerbi. Yes. I'd love De Zerbi.
Chesco asks, simple but hot question: who's winning the Scudetto? For me, Napoli.
Fucking asshole to asking that question.
I know, difficult, but I'm gonna die on my hill. Napoli.
I still think Napoli. Napoli, man.
I just think that it's
written
in the stars.
You believe me, you'll see my opinion shifting week on week, just like most people. But I still think Napoli playing once a week, and I know Atalanta are playing once a week as well, but they don't have Conte, who excels at literally exactly the situation he's in right now. I think they're much less likely to win the league with the current situation, since they didn't invest that Kvaratskhelia money, and without Kvaratskhelia, but I still think they'll get it done, man.
I tend to share the same sentiment as you. We'll see. Matthias says, I want to hear your take on what Alan posted about regarding D'Aversa's problem of maintaining form in the second half of the season. Empoli are in relegation right now, but also in the semi-finals of the Coppa. Should they be preemptive in their approach and drop D'Aversa before it's too late? Who could turn their last 10 games into a triumph? I think after what D'Aversa did to Juventus, there's no dropping him. There's they've put themselves in a tough situation, because if they were thinking about changing their coach, they can't right now.
I think Empoli, they've been here last season. I think they had a coach that almost got them relegated, and they were in the relegation zone for the majority of the season. And I think it was their third coach in Davide Nicola that managed to get them. I don't know if that he was the second or the third coach that they brought in that year.
I can't remember either.
But I have this obsession with teams, not repeating the same kind of cycle. I know it's like stay in Serie A at all costs, but if you sack D'Aversa now, who things could be so positive with D'Aversa, it's not like he has this illness that is always going to make him shit in the second half of the season. He has a tendency that he can perhaps work on together with the team and together with the board of directors to make certain decisions that are going to make them a more stable club, because this is a team that is very young, is very inexperienced. D'Aversa knows how to work with them. I think he gets the best out of them. If they sack D'Aversa and bring in another miracle worker, some kind of a Ballardini of sorts, they're back at square one. They haven't progressed. I am of the opinion that it's not the end of the world, and this is the wrong opinion probably. If you go down to B, keep the same manager, and you grow together with that manager, go back up to A, and have a clearer identity. And be diverse as Empoli and be more of a formidable team. The ideal is that they don't get relegated, but I just feel like this parting ways with manager to, at the end of the day, staying up in Serie A is the main objective, and I don't think sticking to D'Aversa completely ruins those chances. So I would stick to D'Aversa.
I would stick with him as well. I liked what I saw at the start of the season, of course, and it must be said that during this terrible spell, they've had an awful injury crisis as well. They've had so many important players out in every single position, and at one point their squad had just become so thin. But now, they've come to know that they have players who can definitely be deployed in Tosto and Bacci, or whatever their names are.
Nice, actually. Yeah. Nail on the head. Bob.
And I think that, fuck it, he's in the semi-final of the Coppa Italia against Bologna.
Diddly ding, diddly dong.
He's battling relegation. Fuck it, worst case scenario, you have Empoli competing in Europe and in Serie B next season, right?
Literally.
No, but yes, I would keep D'Aversa right now. It's a bit complicated. Let us know what you think, Matthias. Curious to hear your thoughts. So Tyson sent us the Holy Bible of questions.
Which of the three Tysons?
One of them, the Napoli one. So the first one was, he asked us if we could form a Fantacalcio team midway. Who would we put? But we haven't had time to actually prepare it, so we'll skip that one.
Not.
However, I had.
But the top scorers.
He said, "Can you create a starting 11 of transfer flops from summer and winter windows?" And estimate where they would finish in Serie A. So I put a team together.
Okay.
I'm going to read it to you and tell me what you think.
Nice.
So in goal, I have Gollini,
who
is at Genoa and not playing. Now, I couldn't think of a left back, so I put Emerson Royal at left back. And I put Godfrey and Pongracic as the centre backs with Quadrado on the right. This is a 4-3-3, okay?
These are players that flopped, okay.
Yes. New players who flopped. Coop Miners, Douglas Lewis, and Mark Javinsky in the middle.
Amazing.
Mark Javinsky, of course, had his injuries, but he barely featured for Lecce. And then up front, Morata, Goodmanson, and Chauna.
Morata, Goodmanson, yes, pretty much nail on the head.
And where does this team finish in Serie A?
This team, with Douglas Luiz and Cope Miners in the middle and Goodmanson up front, I think they'll get 13th. I think they're a 13th team.
This would be a decent team. I'm worried about that defense.
But Quadrado and Emerson, a disaster. Pongracic
and then Godfrey in the middle, poor guy doesn't know the league.
What was I gonna say? Where's Warren Bondo, man? Where the fuck is Warren Bondo, man? I had that as a note and I didn't fucking say it. Where the fuck is Warren Bondo? Anyway, sorry, you can continue.
He's probably almost at 90 kilos. When he gets there, he'll play. The Serie B title and promotion race is very tight, says Tyson. Which team would you love to see make it to Serie A next season? I would love to see 3 teams in Serie A. Palermo, who are currently 8th in
I
Serie B.
agree.
Bari, who are currently 9th in Serie
What
B.
a stadium. Bari, I want them for their stadium.
58,000 capacity.
And the team bus drives onto the stadium, drives onto the pitch. It's
wicked.
amazing. It's absolutely
It's a really
amazing.
cool stadium, and I love the fact that the stands are kind of separate as well, so it looks like 3 massive individual stands coming up. And also, of course, Salernitana. I love what they're fighting relegation. So
They're
that's not gonna
19th.
happen. Yeah.
I also fucking really enjoy Catanzaro.
They're
And
great.
Catanzaro did great things last year. Too bad they got blown out of the water in the playoffs against... They got demolished against...
Bari.
Who's third place? Who came third last season and got promoted? Who got promoted?
So
not automatically.
Venezia got promoted.
Venezia.
Yes.
I think they got killed by
No,
Venezia.
didn't Cagliari-
Catanzaro.
no,
Cagliari
Cagliari
were there. But Catanzaro play really nice football, and
They
they're
do,
currently
they
on a
do.
good spell of form. I'd love to see them in Serie A, Catanzaro.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
it's
we've
a
ever
cool
seen
team
them.
as well. It's a cool team. Definitely not recently.
Is Catanzaro a nice place? Let me have a look, because I just look. Whoa!
It's Italy, bro. Everywhere is nice.
Literally, look at that.
Look at that.
Catanzaro.
Well, now this is a nice question from Tyson as well. It's a question more about the podcast itself.
Yo!
What does a typical day of recording look like? How do you guys do your research, or how many games do you try to watch? How long does it take, or any other cool behind-the-scenes facts or funny
Yo.
stories?
That's fun.
So usually it starts like this. So from Friday to Monday, we have preparation. We watch as many games as our girlfriends let us. No, really, we try to watch as many games as we possibly can.
Personally, I always have a game on my phone.
Yeah.
Even if something else is on the TV or we're out, that causes problems. When you're like out to dinner and stuff, and it's like
You've got your game on your.
But
you know,
she understands obviously that
it's like an aquarium, like a fish tank. You look at it every now and then.
But
You admire it and beyond.
exactly. It's not like at the end of the day, it's also our responsibility nowadays
Of
with
course,
the
to watch
podcast
some football.
to see what's going on, at least to
Absolutely.
get an idea.
When it's like Saturday night and I wouldn't have watched much football, I straight up get anxiety.
I vomit.
Yeah, and then I start spam watching extended highlights and reading
That's my
articles.
least favorite. I
Yeah.
like a
I like
weekend
watching-
where you watch 2 games on Saturday, 2 to 3 games on Sunday. Like you have a game on the laptop and another one's on. You're checking your phone constantly. The group chat's lit and you're engaging.
So then Monday is the day where we get most of our written prep
Preparation
done
done, yeah.
after work. We do it separately. Back in the day, we used to take 5 games each. Nowadays, we kind of both do everything.
Which is interesting, and now the way that we're kind of doing it is that I'm more like the split of in what order should we discuss things, and Jake is more in-depth analysis of the games. It's just interesting with this new format. I think it's still quite early days, and there are still ways to make it better and to maximize it, which are always discussions that we're having. And let us know your feedback. What do you think of the structure? I think, for example, in this episode, we could have discussed bigger picture more than those individual games that we were doing.
But then it becomes repetitive with bigger picture, because what's stopping us
It's
in 2
true.
weeks' time from discussing the bigger picture? We have to take it as it goes.
Especially with all the draws at the top.
Exactly.
It's
Things
essentially
are
the same
constantly
situation.
changing. We can look back at the past with clarity, but the future can't be looked at with clarity.
Yo.
It's all speculation, yo.
Word.
Yes.
Word. Fucking, you're right. A
so-
day of recording, and then
We try to finish work as early as possible.
I finish work at 4:30 nowadays. I used to finish at 5:30, and I finish at 4:30. Starting an hour early, obviously. And I drive to yours. To refresh our memory, we like to put the goal show on and have a coffee. And just
2 of these.
we just touch base a little bit, set up the studio. Typically, it gets a little bit messy as the week goes by. And sound check, and off
Sound
we
check,
go.
yeah. I prop my phone up for YouTube, of course. Matthew's got his laptop for for the audio. We've got our mics. Sometimes we have technical issues, and because we're both chimpanzees, we can't quite figure them out. Takes us some time.
Today was a disaster.
Today halfway through the episode, not even halfway, 30 minutes in, I think 20 minutes in. One of the microphones, my microphone wasn't picking me up properly.
And it's a problem. Like we have 3 microphones, and 2 of them just randomly switch at times.
But thanks to our patrons, we can acquire a new one without having to. Yes. And also, sometimes recording day arrives and I realize, oh my god, I haven't drawn anything.
Madonna.
That's the worst. That's the worst. But I try to draw something on like Saturday or Sunday when I have.
I think that's a great note just to close the podcast, because it's hard to tell what time we're on since it's 2 separate files. I think that's a cute way to end this episode, though.
Yeah.
Unless is there another question you want to address?
There are some short ones, bro.
Let's do it. I think let's do like
one more. Okay,
minutes.
Who would you love to see survive and who would you love to see get relegated? I have them written. Personally, I would love to see Hellas, Verona and Monza go down.
Same.
I would hate to see Lecce, Cagliari and Venezia go down.
I'd hate to see
Parma and Empoli. I'm indifferent. I like them, but I don't love them or hate them.
I love Parma. I really like Parma. I like Empoli, man. I would like to see go down Monza. If I got to choose Monza, Verona, and
probably Empoli, right?
Probably Parma, it has to be Empoli, because Lecce are southern and they're good to have, and I'm starting to fall in love with them because of you, even though I don't like the colours of Lecce, not huge on the players kind of thing.
But it's the fan base.
But the fan base is incredible, so you have to love them. I think I'd like to see go down as a club, because I love the Empoli players, man. But they have a lot of loanees, so
and
Empoli, Monza, Verona.
From a very small place, you know. We have an article on it on our website if you want to check it out.
Cagliari have to survive, Parma have to survive, Genoa have to survive. These are some of my favorite. Venezia, super cool as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess I'm taking one day off, which is lit.
Excellent, so you can catch up.
Amazing. I'm in Bratislava this week, so if you guys think of anything cool in Bratislava or where I can get some good beer, let me know. But we'll be back. We love you all. Thank you for listening. Ciao, ciao.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
The football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake?
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.